I'm Hilarie Orman, and I live in Utah, and I want to talk to you about some work I've done in interpreting polyhedra as musical instruments. Now, at G4, G10, I did talk about this. I talked about the way I interpreted polyhedra as having musical notes on their faces. And you might wonder, how did I get interested in this? And you know, it is because I'm from Utah, and the history of Utah up to the present day is really entwined with polygyny. And many of these people are polyhedonists. So what I've done is I assign a musical note to each face of a polyhedron, and my notion of playing a face is to play the notes that are on the faces around it. So they form kind of an arpeggio or scale, and to play a vertex is to play the notes on the three faces, or however many faces, meet at a vertex. Now, the combinatoric problem that this introduces is how do you do it in a way that, that sounds somewhat better than just a jumble? And so I tried to come up with criteria that I could meet with exhaustive search of finding scales that were not too discordant and chords that were reasonably melodic. And I allowed some exceptions, but there shouldn't be too many in any of them. And for the dodecahedron, I wanted the face scales to be similar as if they were in different keys. And so I was able to come up with 10 in about the same key. So that was before. Now, at that time, I didn't do anything about the music. It's just the sounds. And to be honest, I mean, compared to the beautiful concerto you heard earlier, don't expect that from me. It's really more like sounds than music. But there are the dodecahedron and the way I've done the icosahedron are going to have 5-note face scales. Pentatonic scales really do occur in musical composition. Not these scales, but there certainly are some. And the human ear is very resilient and can recognize melodies even when they're transposed quite a bit. So to get you ready for what these polyhedras sound like, I'm going to start with a very simple tune. You recognize this, I hope. Especially you Brits. Okay, so that in C major is my bass thing. Now, if Bach were going to do this, he might take the second movement and play it in a minor key, and you'd still recognize it. Okay, now, a lot of folk music, some blues and jazz will use pentatonic scales, and I've chosen 2 reasonable pentatonic scales so you can see how the melody will take on a different character just by putting it in a different kind of scale. Okay, that was 2 different scales, each half in a different one. See, they really sound like they're from different places. So let's look at the dodecahedron. The C face has these 5 notes around it. So imagine that you've made up a little piano keyboard and you've assigned these notes to the keys, and you're just going to play that melody with the same kind of fingering that you would have done before, but you're going to play it in this scale. The frequencies aren't ascending. The intervals are going to be very, very weird. But here's what our melody will now sound like on a dodecahedron scale. Okay, so I don't know if the tune is still recognizable. If it isn't, then you'll understand why I call it an enciphered melody. It's in a substitution cipher of the original melody. Now, when I came to do the icosahedron, which is new, the first question was, well, isn't it just the dual of the dodecahedron? What's new about this? And that would be true if I were willing to accept that a vertex gets assigned a unique note. But, I mean, that's no fun. I wanted a unique note on each of the 20 faces of an icosahedron. And how am I going to get a unique note for 20 different faces? Divide the octave up into 19 parts, which actually does have some music advantages. And sometimes music is composed in 19-note scales. You add high C to get out to 20. This is a more complicated combinatoric problem and an even more alien music. So the optimal icosahedron that I came up with interprets a vertex as having an arpeggio around it, a face as being a chord, because you're not going to get 5 notes played together that sound decent. I ran an exhaustive search, and my best was 12 good scales and 14 good chords. That means there are 6 bad chords. There were 2 other possible contenders out of this search. So it's hard to tune a violin or a piano or something to a 19-note scale, fortunately. The Musicahedra app embodies everything that I've talked about. So this is the icosahedron. If you have perfect pitch, you will hate this. Here's a good chord, and here's an awful chord. And here's, I think that sounds like silverware banging together. Okay, so here is our simple song enciphered in the musical icosahedron. Well, I don't know if it's music, but it is something. So I've introduced the enciphered melodies. I've solved a musical icosahedron. I wonder if there are actual musical principles that can come out of these weird pentatonic scales. And I would love to make an embodiment of this as sort of an electrical mechanical device. And if anybody knows how to do it, let me know.